Hello and welcome to TSL Talk for Round 8. Today we're joined by Clarence Premiership Captain Nick Payne. Nick, thanks very much for joining us.
No worries, Brett. Good to be here.
Unfortunately, you're on the sidelines at the moment. Can you just give an update on your injury and when can we see you back out on the ground?
Yeah, I've got a torn my quad. I had a 15 centimetre tear in my quad from round 2 against South Lonnie, and it's been a little bit slow to heal, so hopefully be back out playing in 3 or 4 weeks, hopefully. So, yeah.
That's a significant time off for a quad tear. Obviously 15 centimetres is quite a bad one you did.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I suppose I didn't know initially how big it was, but once I had the scans done and things like that, quads can be relatively tricky to fix. So it's one of those things that if I came back too early and did it again, that was probably my season. So probably erring on the side of caution and hopefully be back in 3 or 4 weeks.
And how frustrating has it been for you? Because you started the season in great form, sort of arguably best on ground against Glenorchy in round 1.
Yeah, it's been pretty frustrating, I suppose, but at the same time, the boys are actually going quite well without me, so it's probably going to be hard to slot back in there when I come back. But I've never been a big one for sort of sitting on the sidelines, and this is probably the longest stay out of the game I've had for a while. So it's very frustrating.
There's some real depth at the club now, because just this week we've seen Matt Drury, Greg Sharman, Clint Riley and Trap Whitelaw come back into the team. But even with these guys out and yourself, the team hasn't missed a beat. No,
it's been really good, I suppose. As you said, those guys have been out and for various reasons over the last 4 or 5 weeks, and we've had guys come into the side out of the reserves that have really played their roles and filled in for those guys, which has been really pleasing. And I suppose if those guys slot back into the side this weekend, I think there'll probably be a few blokes that'll be disappointed, but it's a good thing to have, I think, at the club, that competitive spirit, and hopefully blokes keep working hard and get back into the side.
You've got a Glenorchy at KG5 this week. Is that still the number 1 rivalry for Clarence?
Oh yeah, look, I think so. Obviously they're not travelling overly that well over the last month, but they're a pretty proud club and have been pretty dominant through the last 3 or 4 years in Tassie footy. So I'm sure they'll come out fired up this week for the game. Yeah.
You must feel that Glenorchy a bit vulnerable though, given their form and injuries, as you mentioned.
Oh, look, yeah, you can say that, but I suppose get back to that rivalry, they always tend to lift a few cogs against us, and we're expecting them to, as I said before, come out firing this week and show a good account of themselves and put up a really good fight against us. And hopefully, if we play to our game plan, our structures, and that, we'll come away with a win. Is
it a goal for Clarence to go through the season undefeated?
Oh, look, I suppose we haven't really spoken about it. It's an old footy cliche, but we take it week by week, and if we're achieving our goals each week on the field, I suppose that could be a possibility, but we haven't looked that far ahead. We're just going week by week at the moment and see how we go.
There was an incident in a Launceston hotel a couple of weeks ago. As captain, did you have to address the players, and were there any penalties handed down from the club?
I did have a quick chat to the players, but it was more a leadership group sort of a thing. We sat down with those guys and obviously outlined that what they'd been involved in. While it wasn't overly major, it's still something that we don't want the boys and the club to be put through. So those guys have been disciplined, and we've swept that away now. And just looking forward to putting up a show on the ground, and those guys are obviously keen to get out there and let their footy do the talking now. So yeah.
We've seen your playing coach go to full forward and has had great success this season. Can he crack the ton this year?
Oh, look, if he obviously keeps going the way he is, he's certainly on track for it. He's been a great target down there for us, and as long as we keep getting the ball in the right way, there's no doubt that he could. But I think just like every other player, he's quite happy to play his role, and if that means he kicks 8 or 10 one week and then 3 or 4 the next, and he's still played his role, well, I suppose that's what he wants to do.
You been giving any tips on goal kicking?
No, I'm probably not one to give tips on goal kicking, but he's been out there practicing pretty hard before sort of training and things like that. So, like anyone, he'll have his up and down weeks, but I think as long as we get to the end of the season and he's kicking them straight at the right end, we'll be pretty happy with that.
What's your thoughts on, obviously this week we're seeing a double gala day at Bellerive, not involving Clarence. What's your thoughts on neutral teams are playing at your home ground? Oh,
look, I suppose that the TSL have always said that they want to use the best grounds available as much as they can. Whether they could have scheduled us in there to play one of those games, and one of the earlier home games that we had, we played away, I don't know. We just leave that sort of stuff up to them, and in the end we'll take on anyone anywhere, and if that means a couple of sides are playing on our ground, so be it. So yeah, we sort of stay to that sort of stuff and just concentrate on the footy.
So there's no sort of fear that it might take away from your home ground advantage if teams get used to playing at Bellerive?
Oh, not really. I mean, we'll play at Bellerive. We'll get our 9 home games or whatever we get, and if that means that it helps them a little bit to learn to play Bellerive a bit better, well, so be it. But I mean, we're playing there 10 times a year, and we love playing there. And in the end, doesn't matter who we play. We'll play them there hopefully, and beat them and keep our record intact.
Right, now to have a look at the rest of the games of round 8. But up at West Park, Burnie's hosting North Lonnie. Burnie's had a real dip since those a dip in form since those opening 2 rounds. They lost the last 5, and North Lonnie probably had a bit of a surprise loss to Devonport last week at home. What's your tip there?
Oh, I think like you said, Burnie. We sort of gave Burnie a bit of a touch up last week. No doubt they want to bounce back, but I think North Lonnie will win there comfortably.
South Lonnie taking on Launceston at Aurora Stadium, one of these games at a neutral venue. Lonnie were super impressive last week against Glenorchy, and South Lonnie got a real touch up from Hobart last week at home. Yeah,
I think Launceston have got some quality players in Sam O'Keefe and Scott Stevens, so I think they'll do the job there pretty comfortably as well.
Would you sort of rate Lonnie as a bit of a lurker or a dark horse, someone that can sort of come from middle of the pack and really push up?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, those players mentioned before, they're quality players, and they've got a lot of good players through their side. And I think if on their day they click, they're going to be a very dangerous side come the end of the year. So yeah.
One side that is struggling is Lauderdale, languishing in last with just the 1 win. It's going to be a big ask for them against Devonport at Bellerive on Saturday.
Yeah, I think Devonport have hit a bit of form as well. So yeah, it's going to be another tough one for Lauderdale. I think Devonport will get over the line there, and no doubt Lauderdale put up a really good fight, but they're a young side, developing side, so hopefully they'll keep improving.
You originally come from the Lauderdale junior system, played your junior footy there, is that right?
Yeah, I played there until about under 15s and then made the move up to Clarence just because of, at that stage, sort of Lauderdale Senior Club was sort of in the amateurs, so yeah, and stayed with Clarence ever since and probably won't move back, I don't reckon. So
there's no temptation to finish your career where you started? Any of those thoughts?
There probably has been a few times, but I think, Clarence has been brilliant to me over the last, 10 years, and I've got a fair bit of success there as well. So, no, I don't think there's any plans for me to go back to Lauderdale at any stage. So,
probably an interesting game is the late game on Saturday at Bellerive. North Hobart is second at the moment, taking on Hobart. You sort of never know which sort of Hobart's going to turn up. They were disappointing 2 weeks ago against Devonport, and then come out and thrash South Lonnie on the road last week.
Yeah, I suppose played at Bellerive too. It can both an unfamiliar ground for both sides, but North Hobart have got a few good players coming back in Crease and Long, I think, which will give them a bit more drive, and I think they'll probably just get over the line, but I reckon that'll be a really good game to go and watch. So yeah.
All right, Nick, thanks very much for joining us, and thank you for joining us on TSL Talk. And remember, for all your reviews, stories, and match reports, pick up your copy of the Mercury or go to the Mercury online.